Sick at heart, sick at the wars of men.
Hello, I'm David Jones from Sirius. The last time I saw Justin Adams on stage was at the BBC Proms at the Royal Albert Hall, and before that I saw him play a blinding set with Robert Plant in the hall. So we're really delighted that Royal Albert Home have agreed to partner with Sirius Livestream Sessions to bring you this show. Justin Adams has been using lockdown to find new ways through all the musics that have influenced him, from Sinead O'Connor to North African Ghana music, from the sounds of Mali to the songs of Robert Plant, and a new collaboration with Italian violinist Mauro Durante. So now, on behalf of Sirius Livestream Sessions and Royal Albert Home, please enjoy Justin Adams.
Hello, welcome and thanks for coming. This first song I'm going to do is about being in the middle of life and you find yourself lost in the dark wood. A long road ahead, and the going's no good. I've come so far now, still not out of the woods. Fear not the dark, fear not the howling wind. Fear not the darkness, my brother. The bitterness within. Ya aman, ya aman, ya leyli aman. Ya aman, ya leyli aman. Yeah, out of the woods. Well, in this past 3 months, I've been spending quite a lot of time here, surrounded by all my lovely instruments and my books and my CDs and memories of a whole lifetime in music. And so I thought I'd kind of bring you in and share some of that with. Instruments can be very inspiring things that have got their own kind of character, and they become part of you. I've had this 52 gold top for 30 years. I bought it in Boston, and I love it. It never lets me down, and it's got the kind of the spirit of the old kind of Howlin' Wolf, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, pop staples. Some of my very, very favourite artists played that very type of guitar, but it just it suits me. I just feel I love it. Another instrument that I love is this. You might think the design of the Les Paul is old, from 1952. But the design of this, there are hieroglyphics from ancient Egypt that have got instruments with virtually the same design, the same way that the strings are attached to the neck. And I got it the first time that I was I went to Bamako in Mali. I was there with the band, great French band Lojo, and we were there to be part of a festival. And I had it in mind to get one of these, but I didn't realise you couldn't just go to a shop and turn up and buy one. It was a more complicated but a brilliant kind of procedure. We met some Tuareg musicians who were part of the same festival, and they heard that I was interested in buying one of these things. And so one night, the courtyard where we were staying, we'd sit up and drink tea in the courtyard under the starlight in Bamako. It was magical anyway. But this troupe of Tuareg griots, and the griots are the ancestral musicians who they carry the whole of the history and the poetry and the art of their people, and but they're also kind of slightly wheeler dealer outside of society kind of people. A great laugh, and they bring the party. And I met this guy Abu Bakr Agagali, and we entered into a relationship, stayed in touch for many years after. And they demonstrated the way that they play, which is incredible. I mean, the stuff they do with their fingers, it's just beyond me. I sort of feel like, in a way, I hardly have the right to play this instrument, but when I do play it, it's in tribute, really, to the original inventors. I always think of the people who first invented instruments like this thousands and thousands of years ago, and their legacy, which has evolved. And I see that as a sort of as a counterbalance to all the kind of horrible history of oppression and sort of death and murder, and yet this beautiful truth and beauty that was designed 4,000 years ago, and it continues to touch people's heart. It continues to take culture forward, and even through the whole history of slavery, where this instrument got taken to America and converted. It was the ancestor of the banjo, and in many ways of the guitar, with the techniques that came into it, which then through rock and roll went to change the whole world. And the amount of spirits and hearts that have been uplifted, that I think in a way it's the triumph of the griots. So this song I'm going to play now is dedicated to the griots, ancient and modern, and it's a little riff that I came up with that I believe is actually inside the instrument. I just but the riff gave me a lot, because it gave me the impetus for my first solo record, Desert Road, and it also when I first met Robert Plant, it was the riff that I played first for him, where he started singing, and we sort of thought, whoa, we've got something here, this sounds amazing. And similarly, it was the riff when Jules de Camera heard me play it. He wanted to play with me, so I kind of owe it all. When a dark cloud comes, when a dark cloud come now, when a dark cloud come, and they're laughing in your face now. When the dogs howl, I'll be there. Ho! Yeah, that one's dedicated to my friend Julde Camera, the great Gambian Jali, and sending him lots of love. And so I'll go back to the gold top now, and back to a time when I was in London, just starting out, and I was playing in that sort of post-punk period and trying slowly to find my own kind of voice in music. And I was playing with a guy called Jah Wobble and listening to lots of dub and funk and beginning to listen to African music and Arabic music and Celtic, all kinds of things. Lots of drones, you know. I'm not numbed out anymore. No longer feel the hate and pain. No longer drenched in shame. I'm not numbed out anymore. Now I own the key to the door. The kingdom of heaven lies inside. Makes a circle with the turning tide. Now the circle is complete, and their heart and mind they meet. The kingdom of heaven lies inside. Visions of You. So what I do remember about recording that song was the moment when Sinead O'Connor came and sang on it. And my God, the charisma that she had and that she brought to that song. I think it was the first time I really was in a recording studio, and I just heard how just somebody's presence doing something very simple, just the clarity of her voice and her presence was just, it just sent shivers up your spine, you know, really fantastic, you know. And it was actually with Sinead that I played at the Albert Hall for the first time. I love the Albert Hall. It's my favourite venue in the whole world. It's something to do. I mean, it's in London. If you arrive by the park, you know, you get this sense of event as you come up to the Dome. And obviously there's the whole history of Hendrix and Dylan for me, you know, and the gigs that I've seen there, Al Green, you know, stands out, and Emmylou Harris I saw play there, and lots of fantastic gigs. And then the first time I never thought I'd even play the Albert Hall, but I've actually played there many times now. And the first time I'll never forget, I was playing with Sinead O'Connor, and we had an arrangement of Nothing Compares to You that started with acoustic guitar, and I was playing the acoustic guitar, and we were playing very quietly on stage, and I just started playing the chords, and the whole of the Dome felt like it was the soundbox of my guitar. It just felt like a sort of amplified out, and you just knew that any minute now Sinead was going to come in with those first lines of the song, and again it kind of sent shivers down your spine, you know. The most recent time I've played at the Albert Hall was I was guesting at the Proms with the Italian band Canzoniere Grecanico Salentino, of whom later, but I'm not really, I don't think of myself as a singer, but I sang this song, and again, you know, we were quite quiet, and I started singing this song, and I just felt so supported by the building and by the people and by the history, the spirit of it, and you know, so both kind of physically and sort of you know, just in the spirit of the Stones, it was kind of quite special. And this is the song that I sang. Corinna, gal, we have been so long. Corinna, gal, we have been so long. I've been thinking about you, girl. Honey, please come home. I got a bird whistles, I got a bird that sings. I got a bird that whistles, I got a bird that sings. But if I ain't got you, Corinna, life won't mean a thing. Corinna, gal, we've been so long. Ah, Karina, Karina. Girl, we've been so long. I've been thinking about you, girl. Honey, please come home. So, let's see. Yeah, I spoke a little bit about my my trip to Mali, and generally, there are certain trips that I've taken that have really sort of brought me a lot as a musician. When I was a child, I lived in the Middle East quite a lot, in Egypt and in Jordan, and that got me attuned to Arabic music. We heard a lot of things, you know, from Kulthum to the belly dance rhythm to Bedouin music, and that just became, you know, it got under my skin, I guess. I pretty much forgot about it all as I was growing up as a teenager and got into playing in punk music and stuff like that. And then later on, I kind of revisited the music, but now with an ear for reggae and for funk, and I met a guy called Salah Dawson Miller and his Algerian wife Amel, and they said to me, if you like Arabic music and you like, you know, this funk and reggae and stuff like that, you really need to go to Morocco. And so I did. I went to Marrakesh, and I was just blown away by I felt partly very familiar, like with Arabic music. It was music that I'd heard in my childhood, but this Moroccan music was different. It had something polyrhythmic and kind of funky about it, and you know, almost a raw bluesiness about it that kind of felt more akin to, you know, Howlin' Wolf or something like that. I heard the spirit of that kind of music in it. And there was one particular night, and the first time I was there in Marrakesh, I was walking home after a dinner, and we were with a guy who, you know, these young guys who at that time would come up to tourists and say, you know, I want to be your guide. And he was a nice guy, and he told us a lot of stuff about music and gave me my first kind of insights into what was going on in the music scene in Morocco. And we saw this man in white robes walking with a kind of cigar box guitar strapped over his back, and the guide said, "Hey, come to the guy in white. Come and give us a song." And the guy, so for a bit of money, the guy just played this little tune to us late at night, and he played, and the sort of bass tones of his of this 3-string cintier that he played, this that looked to me like a kind of Bo Diddley guitar. He played and he sang kind of under his breath, just this quiet music, and it just felt like the center of everything to me. It felt like this is home music. This is because it had everything in it. It was very physical. It had a kind of sadness in it, but a joy in it at the same time. And it had something that I felt like related to blues, it related to Celtic music, related to African music. It just felt like the centre for me, and so I knew I'd kind of needed to know more about Gnawa music. And so this next song is, I learned it originally off a cassette from the great Mahmoud Ghania, who I strongly recommend you check out, because you know, he's passed away now, amazing guy. But I've never really known the lyrics, and so I got in touch with another Gnawi that I worked with a few years, and this is a guy, Hamid El Khazri, who picked me up in Rabat when I went to work with him a few years ago in his 4-wheel drive, and he had his mobile phone in one hand and his Sebsi pipe with Kif in it in the other hand, and I was thinking, how are you actually driving the car? But somehow he managed to drive the car very safely, and we arrived and had a very good time. Anyway, I contacted him, and he spoke the lyrics down the phone to me on WhatsApp, and so now I kind of know what the lyrics are. So this next song is dedicated to the masters of Gnawa, and I Just got to find the right Masters of Gnawa sound. There it is. Thank you very much. And so in this time I was supposed to be doing some gigs with, I mentioned earlier on, Canzoniere Grecanico Salentino. I was supposed to be doing some gigs on a new project, a duo with Mauro Durante. And so now I'm going to see if we can find Mauro on Zoom and speak to him for a little bit. So at this time we were supposed to be playing together, and so this is a kind of second best, but it's a pleasure to see you, and I can't wait to get back to playing together and working on our new project. When I've been doing this streaming concert, I've been talking a bit about some of the most amazing musical experiences I've ever had and travels I've had, and going, to the desert and all this kind of thing. But I really think one of the most incredible things was when I first met you, and I always remember flying out for rehearsals for La Notte di Taranta, this big Taranta festival in the south of Italy. And I didn't know much about your band, Canzoniere Grecanico Salentino. But I walked into a rehearsal room on this steaming hot day in a beautiful southern Italian town. And there was just this coolest bunch of musicians with crazy bagpipes and mandolins and fiddles and these big drums. And I straight away felt so welcomed. And the music I find so soulful and hypnotic and beautiful. And then when we did the concert, it was one of the most amazing concerts I've ever seen. So can you tell me a little bit about Notte di Taranta and Taranta in general?
Yeah, I remember that moment very well. When you came in the rehearsals room, I think it was 2011, and that was special because the Notte della Taranta festival is held every year in Salento, in Puglia, where I live. It's a huge festival dedicated to our musical and dance tradition, pizzica, taranta here. And every year they call a sort of musical director coming from different experiences. They can give his own take on the arrangement and production of the show. And I was very happy and lucky to be the assistant of Ludovico Einaudi for a couple editions. There were 2010 and 2011. In 2011, we wanted to invite you with your colleague Julde Camara, and that was great, really an amazing experience. And yes, we share the same also enthusiasm, because it's one of the memories I'm the most attached to. So it was great, and it was special how perfectly you could blend with a tradition that you never encountered before.
Yeah, I don't know what it felt. It felt like a very familiar music to me, and just so soulful, and it was really beautiful. And Ludovico reminded me of a kind of like a Fra Angelico or Giotto. He was kind of leading everybody with this kind of gentle humility and sort of a kind of love, in every note that he played, But the music, was fantastic. But let's play a little bit together now. See if we can manage through Zoom. I mean, there's a bit of a delay, but. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I think at heart, what really I'm attracted to about your music is it's got this feeling of taking you somewhere, of transporting you, and trance. And in the history of your music, the origins are in trance and healing, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. Because this pizzica music was connected also to a ritual, a healing ritual called tarantism. There was a belief that when you get bitten by a legendary spider called Taranta, then you could fall down in a state of deep disease, illness. And the only way you had to actually recover your health, be well again, was by going through this ritual made of different elements such as the music, the dance, colors, the water, even the presence of Saint Paul in some cases. You can compare that ritual to the ones that you find in Africa or South America, ritual possessions. So there is this trance element that's really important, mysterious, and fascinating.
Yeah, and you use, I mean, the beautiful drums that you've got behind you. To me, you know, in a lot of the kind of trance music, especially, you know, Morocco, Algeria, Iran, they're using frame drums, particularly for those kind of, you know, you have the zikr in Sufi music or you know, these kind of things. So it seems like drums like that are often connected with trance.
Sort of cyclic playing, you know, this sense of being round. Also, the frame drums you can find, it's a family of instruments that you can find all over the world with some different characteristics, like the materials used, the presence of the symbols, the some shapes, but still it's a wooden circle. It's poor material with a animal skin, and you know the belief was that was like God could speak through this instrument, because even, you know, sacrificing an animal in order to make the skin of the drum, it was a way to talk with God and through God. I mean, God could talk through the instrument, and so the people that used to play in the past, these instruments were usually a sort of, you know, priests or priestesses, and mostly women in the past. So it's really, it's a very strong instrument.
And so now you're talking about like ancient, really ancient times, like the times of ancient Greece and that kind of, you know, really pre-Christian.
Yeah, you can find the images and pictures, paintings of this kind of instruments that are very, very old, and even before the ancient Greece. And also you find like those kind of pictures or paintings even all over the world with different sizes, different. So it's really fascinating that this kind of instrument could, you know, travel and be present in everyone's history.
Yeah. And you've got a very special way. I mean, your part of the world, it's got an incredible way to play it, and I know you've developed your own styles. Can you show a little bit of the traditional way of playing? Yeah. Wow, that's great. Even, you know, across the internet and coming through my silly little computer, coming through Zoom, I can feel the heaviness and of that rhythm. Thank you so much. That's beautiful.
There are things that need to be retaken. So us being together, going on tour, experiencing the world face to face, and embracing people and life, and we will. I'm positive we will.
We will. Yeah, we will. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mauro, and I can't wait to get back and play with you in person. But this is a very beautiful.
Me too, and thank you.
Taking the time, and I'll see you. Okay, bye. That was great to speak to Mauro there. The next song I'm going to do is a song that I wrote in those first weird weeks of lockdown when everything was changing. It's called Endless Ocean. What is money? Money is a chain that drags us through life. What is work? Work is a way to get through the day. What is fear? Fear is a beast that stalks by night. What is time? Time is the way that things cool down. I could fall apart, scattered to the wind, falling up into the endless ocean. I could leave no trace, just a speck of dust, this glint of light upon the endless ocean. What is wine? Wine is a way to taste the sun. What is love? Love is a light allows us to see. I could fall apart, scattered to the wind, falling up into the endless ocean. I could leave no trace, just a speck of dust, this glint of light upon the endless ocean. Yeah, endless ocean. So a massive thing for me when I was growing up, when I first got a guitar, I could not figure out how to sound like, you know, the bands of the time, the sort of, you know, Pink Floyd or Rolling Stones or anything. I couldn't work out, I couldn't relate that to what I was playing. But when punk came along when I was 16, suddenly it was like, oh, okay, I get it. I could sound like that. People think of punk as being a kind of destructive, sort of very kind of colourless thing. But for me, it was all about opening up, and it was about self-expression. And I learnt so much from those times, especially, you know, there was John Peel on the radio, and there was the NME, and I discovered reggae, and through bands like The Clash, you know, they opened me up to a lot of black American music, and they really were like, they just helped people out. And I actually met Joe Strummer a few times, a couple of times as a fan when he was absolutely sweet to me. And once as a sort of cub reporter, I met him in a report for the school mag. And there, as a journalist, he was much more guarded with me. But I've got great respect for him and gratitude for what he achieved. You know. So this is a song of his, not a very well known one, but one that I like. I see a million walk the city mile, the ticker tape kings, all the juveniles. Will anybody tell me which way to go? Will anybody come back on the CB radio? And I'm counting the stars on the telegraph poles. one represents the hopes of a soul. You'd think that God wouldn't be so hard when you see all the children running in the backyard on a Mississippi gourd with a sub-Saharan song. Somebody is wailing in a financial district, son. Can anybody feel the distance to the Nile? I wanna live and I wanna dance a while. I'm gonna make like Eddie on my rockabilly train. I'm gonna beat out the blues on my ball and chain. You can't pull a hold up with a bebop gun. There's people living now who ain't got no heart and ain't never had none. And down on the corner they crawl all day to get a clip of living with the clean on spray. Can anybody feel the distance to the Nile? I wanna dance and I wanna live a while. So I spoke a bit earlier. Whoops. Get this guitar without knocking too many holes in it. I spoke a bit earlier about the first time that I went to Mali, and that time when I met the griots. In the same visit is the time when Lojo and myself, we heard about the band Tinariwen, who were in the north of Mali and hadn't travelled hardly at all because of the terrible wars there'd been in their part of the world. And they'd been going for about 15 years, and we heard about this legendary band, electric guitar band, and we heard some of their songs, and straight away it was a little bit like that feeling when I heard Gnawa, and I thought, wow, this is right at the centre. When I heard Tinariwen's songs, it reminded me of lots of things, and yet it had its own distinct identity. It was related to Sudanese music, Algerian music, Moroccan music, Nasser Rowan, and things like that. But also, it had something of the kind of Bob Marley, or had something of blues about it. And you know, they knew Hendrix, and they're into Dire Straits and Santana and this kind of thing. So it's a modern electric guitar music, a rebel music. But that's got its roots in the traditional music of the Tuareg culture. And so we heard about them and started planning, or rather Philippe Brix, the great manager of Lojo, started planning a trip together with a great Tuareg academic and sort of activist called Isadiko. And they got the funding together for a group of us to go out to the Sahara Desert, with recording equipment and everything we needed to link up the original Tuareg festival, which is called a Taku Belt, to link it up with a kind of rock festival. And we did this crazy first festival out in the desert, right out. And when we arrived in this town called Kidal, which is a very, very dusty town, with at that time it had no tarmac roads to it. You know, you had to drive across the desert to get there. And when we arrived, we started to look for this for the members of the band Tinariwen. We'd made a kind of loose arrangement to meet them and record with them, and it was a bit like the Magnificent Seven, sort of where are they? And slowly the team comes together. And I remember we were there for 2 or 3 days without really meeting any of the main members of Tinariwen. And but one day this very shy, reserved, very thin guy turned up without a guitar, as I remember, and he came into this big tent that we were sitting in, and he got a borrowed guitar and started playing through a tiny little battery amp. And I'll never forget, he played in a really sort of humble, gentle way, but at the same time it had this power and absolute sort of delicacy, but a kind of inner strength about it. And when he started playing the song, just involuntarily, all the Tuareg people who were in the tent started singing along with the chorus. And you were aware that, this was, their generation's Bob Dylan, and he was singing, The Times They Are A-Changing to it. Or, everybody knew the song and they just sang the chorus. And it meant such a lot to them. And it was coming something, something like that he played, and it just touched me very deeply, especially as a guitarist, to see somebody play like that, and the links that it had with Celtic music, with the blues, with all other kinds of African music, Ali Farka Touré, obviously. So I was entranced, and while I've never tried to exactly, copy that style, I wouldn't, but it's definitely had an effect on me as a guitarist, and I feel so lucky to have met Tinariwen. So dying of thirst. 500 miles of desert to go. When we get to the border, nobody knows. Put your hands into the black earth, boy. Put your hands into the black earth, boy. When we got on the boat, the water was black. Waves were crashing, there was no turning back. Well, I thought of my mother and my sister too. Well, the Straits of Gibraltar, they are darker than blue. Put your hands into the black earth, boy. Put your hands into the black earth, boy. Yeah, I was hanging to the bottom of a high-speed train. Yeah, I was battered and broken in the driving rain. I was hiding in the shadow where the north wind blew. When we get to the border, nobody knows. Put your hands put your hands to the black earth, boy. Put your hands, put your hands, put your hands into the black earth, boy. Put your hands, put your hands, put your hands into the black earth, boy. Put your hands, put your hands, put your hands into the black earth, boy. Yeah, the Black Earth Boys. So, I think living in Egypt, even the little bit that I did in my teenage years, had a massive effect on me. It was the era. I'm just going to have a little sip of tea. It was the era of the great Egyptian diva Kulthum, and her music represented the whole aspirations of the whole Arab world, really coming out of an era of imperialism and Arab nationalism was on the rise, and Kulthum's beautiful voice and her command of the language and this kind of cultural resonance of her music was sort of just huge, really. And when you were living in Egypt, you just hear her music on every radio, every TV. And so I'm going to play a little bit of music from one of her tunes, which and then I'm going to also visit on. I mean, when Arabs are talking about Kulthum, they often use a word called tarab, which means enchantment, I think, or it's the feeling you get when music transports you. And in Kulthum's music is full of this quality of tarab. The Tuaregs talk about asuf, which is kind of longing or nostalgia when it's in music, that feeling of, it's a bittersweet feeling where you feel the pain, but by going through the pain, you transcend and then you feel the exuberance and joy of music. And to me, that's duende is another word from Spain for the kind of spirit in music. And I think blues and soul are where you find it in Black America, and it's the connections between all those things that really has been the kind of running thread through my musical life. And it was such a joy when I started playing with Robert Plant for the first time, because he really gets those connections in the same way that I do. And so in this song, I'm going to sort of visit various things that we visited together and see what happens, really. I'm going to just check that my lovely gold top is coping with this quite hot studio. lay down, down by the water, all on the ground. Stars were above me, all shining bright. Deep river rolling, all through the night. She's alright, she's alright. She's alright, she's alright. You need cooling, baby, I'm not fooling. I'm gonna send you way back for schooling. Oh baby, way down inside. Woman, you need love. Can I give you my love? Can I give you my love? Ooh. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming. I'd like to say a special big thanks to everybody at Sirius, especially David Jones, Beth Sinden, Luke McPherson. A big thanks to the Albert Hall and to all the technical team, to Tom Reeves, Joe Adams and Tim Oliver. And thanks, get in touch with me on my Facebook page or have a visit to my website and stay in touch and stay well. And thanks a lot.